covering today's top boxing news.
We'll start with this. Well, former IBF super featherweight champion of La France, Maiva posted this via her Twitter account. It reads, "Last shooting session this morning before my departure from Montreal, scheduled for mid-January. I will join the Ramsey Academy to prepare for my next fight." Ramsey, that's Mark Ramsey, who's trained world champions Oscar Rivas, Artur Beterbiev, Eleider Alvarez.
He's got some resume.
You don't hear Mark Ramsey's name thrown around as much as a Derek James or a Freddie Roach.
He really is an underrated trainer.
It appears that the former IBF super featherweight champion is going to be joining his academy moving forward so that she can add some layers to her game. I've always thought
Maiva's one of the most fearsome punchers anywhere at or around these weights.
She's some physical specimen, that Maiva Hamadouche. Takes a great punch and gives one. Great engine, doesn't tire. Fights every single minute of every single round a fight is going on. But as far as technique and implementation, Maiva's a bit straightforward. There's nothing subtle about her. She's, according to Hoyle, mid-range to inside pressure fighter. That's what she is, through and through. Perhaps with Mark Ramsey in his academy, having that
at her disposal.
Maiva Hamadouche didn't suddenly become a nobody after having lost that fight to Michaela Mayer, having lost that blue belt. Maiva Hamadouche didn't just fall off the face of the earth and become nothing. She's still one of the very best fighters at or around these weights. And if you saw that fight of the year candidate, fight of the year winner here on this channel, if you saw that fight, you'll know Maiva's got nothing to be ashamed of.
And there's still a lot of girls out there that Maiva can beat the shit out of.
The shit. Now, whether or not Maiva will continue to campaign as a super featherweight or move upstairs like Terry Harper just did to lightweight, that's the question. I could see either scenario happening.
Maiva, like Delphine Persoon, fought on the biggest stage of her career.
Delphine Persoon was a fearsome puncher, fearsome fighter, long before she locked horns with Katie Taylor. But in fighting Katie Taylor, she made that many more people realize that. And the same applies to Maiva Hamadouche. The same now applies. She fought on the biggest stage of her career, biggest fight of her career, against Michaela Mayer.
And she might have lost the fight, but she did gain some notoriety.
There might have been a lot of people who weren't already familiar with Maiva, but they're familiar with her now. They know what she can do, and they'll know that if Maiva's fighting, it's going to be a good fight.
And there are still a lot of fights out there for her.
Wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between her and Delphine Persoon at 130 pounds or Michaela Mayer. The beauty of it all is, even if she doesn't get those rematches, even if those sequels don't happen, there are enough names, enough fighters to go around.
There are plenty of fights to make for Maiva Hamadouche.
I look forward to seeing more of her this year. As far as the woman who beat her and her New Year's goals, Michaela Mayer, one, she wants to go undisputed at 130 pounds. I think that much is obvious. Two, she wants to move up and fight the winner of Taylor versus Serrano at lightweight. Three, she wants to make her UK debut.
I think we're about 3 fights out from Mayer versus Baumgartner.
Whether you guys like it or not, I don't think we're going to see that fight straight away. I think we could see Alicia Baumgartner in action at least 2 more times before they decide to make the Michaela Mayer fight, which perhaps could happen towards the end of this year or early next year, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
And whether Michaela wins that fight or loses that fight,
I could very much see her moving up to the lightweight division and challenging the winner or loser of Taylor versus Serrano. It's almost an eventuality. Whether Michaela Mayer beats Alicia Baumgartner or not, moving up to lightweight feels like something that's going to happen one way or another.
Whether Katie beats Amanda or Amanda beats Katie.
Whether Michaela beats Alicia or Alicia beats Michaela. As we speak, Terry Harper is plotting her ring return, planning to integrate herself into the lightweight division. By the time Michaela Mayer follows her up there, Terry will have likely gotten herself back in the winner's bracket, amassed
few wins,
few victories.
Perhaps by then Mayer versus Harper will become a conversation again.
More immediate future, while Matchroom is setting up Alicia Baumgartner's plan of action for this year, I could see Michaela Mayer locking horns with Firuza Sharapova, perhaps Natasha Jonas.
Maybe.
There are names out there. There are names to go around, especially at these weights. Melissa St. Ville, Heather Hardy, Delphine Persoon. Delphine Persoon is a fight I have particular interest in. Delphine Persoon, who, since losing to Katie Taylor for the second time, moved down to super featherweight. I understand that's a very risky fight for Michaela Mayer, but you must consider that the Baumgartner fight isn't about to happen. I feel like we're at least 2, maybe 3 fights out from that fight. And if that fight ain't gonna happen right away, well, Michaela Mayer still gotta have fights herself. She's still gotta get out there.
Mayer versus Persoon could get a lot of attention.
Because what I think is going on now is the people people over there at Matchroom are planning the next 1 or 2 fights for their most recent signee, Alicia Baumgartner. One of those fights, at least one of them, I think, will include the Hyun Mi Choi fight, what could be the Hyun Mi Choi unification match. Thus, those 2 world champions are not available to Mikaela Mayer at this time, but one fight that she can have that would be of some significance is a Delphine Persoon fight. Mikaela plans on moving up and challenging Katie Taylor, or the winner of Taylor versus Serrano, after all.
So why not face a common opponent between you and them?
You and Katie in this scenario. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Shelf Mikaela until Alicia Baumgartner becomes available? And the time it's gonna take for Baumgartner versus Mayer to come about, by that time, if Mikaela's not careful and if Mikaela's not active, Alicia Baumgartner's profile could exceed hers. I mean, people have quickly taken a liking to Alicia Baumgartner. And
whether Mikaela likes it or not, she has to keep up with the Joneses.
She's got to fight, and they've got to be meaningful fights.
Delphine Persoon's available.
In other news, on the heels of his latest big win, his latest victory, big knockout win over Tyrone Woodley in their rematch, Jake Paul tweeted, "Some people are asking about my 2022 goals. Here they are. Buy Mayweather promotions and save them from bankruptcy. Hire a stylist for Floyd Mayweather. Take selfie with Oprah. Go to chiropractor to heal back from carrying the sport of boxing."
Carrying the sport of boxing? Your last boxing match was a box office flop.
Listen, we're not actually here to discuss Jake Paul's career, whatever you make of it. One aspect of this tweet that really caught my attention was buying Mayweather promotions in order to save them from bankruptcy. Now, as you can imagine, Jake Paul is ribbing Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's taken a liking to trolling them. Though why would Jake Paul...
It's a very interesting choice of words from Jake.
Why would the money team, why would Mayweather Promotions need rescuing from bankruptcy? Floyd Mayweather Jr. was once the highest earning athlete, not just boxer, but athlete.
Ideally, if Mayweather Promotions is having any money woes, Floyd should be able to bail them out himself.
It is his company, after all, and it's not like Mayweather Promotions' annual operational costs are too high. They don't stage but so many shows.
How many shows exactly does Mayweather Promotions put on in one calendar year?
How many that they would need rescuing? How many that they might be on the verge of bankruptcy? At least according to Jake Paul, who we can see is ribbing Leonard Ellerbe, and he is ribbing Floyd, but you know what they say about humor?
There's always a little bit of truth in it.
Over a year ago, in February of 2020, before the pandemic really hit and before everything got shut down, 50 Cent went on to publicly state that Floyd Mayweather was broke, that he burned through all the money.
Since then, we've seen Floyd Mayweather do an exhibition match with a YouTuber,
which I always found strange. A strange use of one's time when they've earned as much as Floyd Mayweather Jr. has earned in his boxing career. Why would you be wasting time on this? You've made enough money fighting Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez, Manny Pacquiao, and Conor McGregor, to where you shouldn't have to box YouTubers to make ends meet.
Floyd called it having fun.
But it didn't look like he was having all that much fun to me. Floyd, who's always carrying on about his smart investments, I'll tell you something. The investments can't be all that smart if you've got to get out there and have exhibition matches with YouTubers.
Floyd has since become the face of a few fledgling brands.
Gel Blaster, sir.
What the fuck is a gel blaster?
I heard something about Floyd Mayweather Jr. appearing in window commercials.
Hi, I'm Floyd Mayweather. Call Love Windows right now. 0800-644-4644.
Advertising windows.
Call Love Windows right now at 0800-644-4644. Remember, call right now.
Over there in Las Vegas, Nevada, we see by way of his social media, he's advertising several...
I'm in Dubai right now. So me and my buddy, Sanjay, is working on something real huge.
small products.
Shops and businesses over there in Dubai.
Listen, a fighter, former fighter, retired fighter, an athlete, lending their likeness or becoming a spokesperson for a business or a brand, that's normal.
Now I need you guys to support him. I got his back. I need everybody to have his back. You're hearing it from the one and only Floyd Making Money Mayweather. And it's all about the money.
You see it all the time. But these businesses that Floyd's lending his likeness and his name to, these products that he's advertising.
Gel Blaster, sir.
Gets out there with a YouTuber in a cringeworthy exhibition match, said he's doing it for fun.
Fun? Is that what that was?
Yeah, Floyd's having a blast.
Gel Blaster, sir.
I mean, it's not like he's lending his name and his likeness to a Dick's Sporting Goods or a Lane Bryant or something.
What the hell is a gel blast?
What, he's shooting KY jelly at people now? What's going on here?
The frequency of these weird advertisements Floyd's been making is increasing.
So you take a step back, look at the whole picture. Over a year ago, 50 Cent says that he heard Floyd burn through all the money. Over a year later, Jake Paul's cracking wise saying he's going to save Mayweather Promotions from bankruptcy. Floyd Mayweather Jr. himself, he's participating in exhibition matches that really seem beneath him, someone of his stature. He's advertising obscure products, what are not major brands. I mean, Jake Paul,
He sold more pay-per-views for Showtime this year than Mayweather Promotions did.
that's just a fact. You tell me, which one of Gervonta Davis's fights this year cracked 500,000 buys or anything close to it? His last fight is rumored to be a box office flop, a big enough flop that Mike Coppinger's sources...
They're really tight-lipped, aren't they?
And Gervonta Davis really is all Mayweather Promotions has. I mean, I don't think they're swimming in cash from Rolly Romero fights.
Badu Jack went to Dubai and signed a pro bellum.
I've always viewed Mayweather Promotions as a little more than a subsidiary of Al Heyman's PBC. I mean, Mayweather Promotions isn't a promotional company on the scale of a Golden Boy, on the scale of a Top Rank, to where they're negotiating with networks independently and they have their own respective deals. No, Mayweather Promotions is just a subsidiary of Al Heyman's PBC, falling under that PBC umbrella.
Al Heyman in an umbrella.
Jake Paul having delivered Showtime bigger pay-per-view buys, bigger numbers than Gervonta Davis did last year. He might become privy to certain information, interesting aspects of what's going on with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and maybe that's where this little comment came from, that he's going to buy Mayweather Promotions to rescue them from bankruptcy. Is it possible that Floyd Mayweather Jr. and or his promotional company have fallen on hard times? I mean, Leonard Ellerby, he's been very irritable, very stressed and pressed.
Is it possible Floyd's going broke?
Anything's possible when you're spending money faster than you bring it in, especially when you're a retired fighter, a retired athlete. You may have been one of the top earning athletes in the world, but what you are here today is retired, and your smart investments, whatever they are.
Gel Blaster, sir.
You tell me if it fits that someone of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s stature would be lending his likeness to some obscure water gun brand that shoots KY jelly.
Does that make sense?
And finally, Demetrius Andrade may head to 168 pounds for bigger fights, says Hearn. Matchroom Boxing head Eddie Hearn is hinting at a plan to force the issue for the 13-year professional he promotes. Demetrius Andrade had a good year. Not the flagship fights that we want, but nice and active. Great win against Quigley last time, said Hearn. He got the mandatory against Yanni Bekalim Kanuli, but we need a bigger fight than that, in all honesty. So if we can't find it at middleweight, I think he'll move up to super middleweight and become a mandatory there. A mandatory challenger for the WBO title that Canelo Alvarez is currently in possession of. And if I'm being honest, I don't think becoming Canelo's mandatory by way of the WBO will get Demetrius that Canelo fight. I don't. But what I do think is that becoming a champion in a third weight class means more to Demetrius than sticking around at middleweight, where so far you can't get a big fight. The Yanni Bekalim Kanuli fight, while it's a good fight to the hardcores, in the greater scheme of things, no, it really isn't a big fight.
The only reason guys are accusing Demetrius of ducking Yanni Beck is because they're assuming Yanni Beck will win.
But what if he doesn't?
What then?
Don't misunderstand me. I like the fight. I would like to see it happen. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, because I do happen to think there are some bigger fights, at least one or two, a few, that could mean more to Demetrius than staying at middleweight to satisfy a mandatory when you already did that.
He did that in his last fight with Liam Williams. That was a mandatory.
As we speak, the wheels are in motion for a potential John Ryder versus Daniel Jacobs fight a little later on next year. The winner of that fight compared to Yanni Bekalim Kanuli, well, the winner of that fight, whoever it is, that's a bigger name.
It is.
And that's a potential opponent option for Demetrius Andrade. Just as well, we're hearing that Billy Joe Saunders hasn't retired, that he may be planning a comeback, a Billy Joe Saunders showdown, the fight that got away, the fight that didn't happen. That is also a bigger fight with a bigger name for Demetrius Andrade than a Yanni Bekalim Kanuli fight.
You gotta keep the same energy for these guys, man.
The middleweight division has stagnated, and a lot of these guys are to blame. A lot of these guys are responsible. One among them is Gennady Golovkin, who sat out all of last year waiting to fight Ryota Murata, only for the fight to get postponed. There was ample time in there for him to create excitement, generate some buzz, generate some revenue, take on his stablemate Demetrius Andrade, and if you make it through that guy the way your supporters think you can, then you fight Ryota Murata at the end of the year. But what did he do? He sat on his hands all 12 months of 2021.
Only for the goddamn Murata fight to get postponed.
Essentially what I'm getting at is Gennady Golovkin sat out all of 2021 because he made a business decision. He did what was best for his business, what's in his business's best interests. That's what he did, and that's what Demetrius Andrade is doing.
So keep the same fucking energy.
He didn't have to sit out all of 2021 the same way that Demetrius Andrade doesn't have to move up to 168 pounds. None of these guys are under any obligation to go about things the way they're going about things. But if they're going about things in a particular fashion, it is in the name of business.
You're okay with Gennady's business decisions, but not Demetrius's.
Gennady is choosing to target a champion, a newly crowned champion that's never defended that title, that hasn't fought in over 2 years. He's choosing to do this. He doesn't have to. The same way that Demetrius Andrade, he doesn't have to leave the middleweight division, but business-wise, it makes business sense. So that's what he's doing.
A potential fight with Billy Joe Saunders at 168 pounds is a bigger fight than Yanni Bekalim Kanuli at 160.
Now, what if John Ryder upsets the apple cart for Daniel Jacobs? I think that would make John Ryder a potential opponent option for Demetrius Andrade.
John Ryder, who some people say unofficially beat Callum Smith.
What if he beats Daniel Jacobs next? That makes a Ryder versus Andrade fight a bigger, more interesting fight than a Yanni Bekalim Kanuli fight. I mean, don't misunderstand me. I'm not against Demetrius staying in the middleweight division and satisfying his mandatory. I'm just saying that there might actually be bigger fights and better options for him at 168.
Might get to become a 3-division champion.